Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, old two-seat Susan Aitken, leader of Glasgow City Council, has been criticised because she's refusing to hold a homelessness summit despite absolutely huge numbers of people homeless in Glasgow. One of the problems is, of course, they keep getting all the illegal immigrants and putting them at the top of the housing list. People of Glasgow have been waiting sometimes many years on that list, are being denied homes because Abdul and Mohammed, who managed to get across on a little rubber boat, are being deigned as being far more important than the people of Glasgow. And of course, they're not allowed to do anything about it. No, they've got to sit down and watch as the illegals take the homes. And there is absolutely no way that they can build enough homes because, well, all the rules about building in Scotland are designed to stop house building. It costs too much to build, the planning is too expensive because you have to have control every single part. They need them to be of a certain, carbon level, decarbonised and all this, heat pumps. They're building exactly the sort of things that people don't want. And of course, with an ever rising population, thanks to immigration, it's not going to get any better. Remember, SNP want immigrants. They want another 1 million immigrants because, hey, nowhere to put them and no jobs. So it's another 1 million immigrants that the workers of Scotland will have to pay tax to keep. Yeah, slavery in order to be basically replaced. But there we go. But now old Two Seats has been slammed over her decision to reject this emergency summit. They claimed the summit would pull staff away and resources away from the crisis. But if you don't work out what you're going to do, you're not going to do anything, are you? Recent figures showed the number of homeless people living in homeless accommodation rose to nearly 9,000 last month. The number of homeless children living in temporary accommodation is nearly 3,500. It's also revealed there's an increase of refugees granted leave to remain. This, of course, being the main part of that surge. Last month, there were 5,500 illegal immigrants living in temporary accommodation in Glasgow. It cannot go on. And yet, more and more they come. Because they know in Scotland, they only have to live in the temporary accommodation for a short time, and then they're given the first available house that comes up. Never mind some native Scot who's been there for a long time. He or she have to watch as that house is taken away from them. They're disastrous figures. And now, of course, there is a politician by the name of Sean Clarkin. Not a politician, sorry. He's the organiser, of the Scottish Tenants Organisation. He's the leader of the Scottish Tenants Organisation. He's asking the politicians to get involved. He's saying that we should be getting tougher on illegal immigrants and not putting them to the head of the queue. He said, we need an emergency winter summit on homelessness before the winter sets in fully in order to stop more homeless deaths from happening, because they will, as they surely will if the resources are not given to Glasgow. Treat it as a special case. No, don't treat it as a special case. Just tell them immigrants don't get houses. Simple as that. Immigrants join the list at the bottom, not at the top. He says the metrics of homelessness in Glasgow is disastrous, and therefore we need to have this summit before it's too late. They don't want it. The problem is, if they hold the summit, old Two Seats will have to recognise that there is the problem, but the SNP official policy is as many immigrants as you can get because they need to replace the native Scot with the illegals. So keep bringing them in, getting them in, let them breed, pay them to breed, pay them to breed, pay them to breed. And eventually they'll outnumber Scots, and then that's it. That's the end of Scotland. That seems to be what the SNP are pushing for. Beyond then, yeah, you'll definitely have independence in Scotland. It'll be the Scottish Islamic Independent, shithole or something. But that's what they want. But no, apparently the SNP are quite happy with that. They don't want to highlight the problem. They don't want people to know what's going on. So they're not holding the subject. Meanwhile, old Two Seats continues to eat her way through that entire lorry load of Greg's sausage rolls. The way it's going, we have to start calling her Three Seats, aren't we? Still, she's not homeless, is she? Thanks very much. Bye.